Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hunt with Deep podcast. I'm hosting solo today. You guys know me. I'm Luke. We have a very important and timely guest today. He was on the pod a couple months back. Dan Gates with Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, spearheading the fight here in Colorado against the quote-unquote trophy hunting ban that's going after lions and other cats in Colorado. That's really the forefront of the battle to kind of erode hunting rights nationwide. So Dan, welcome.
Thanks a bunch, Luke. Appreciate the opportunity to, reconnect. We've seen each other a couple times over the summer at different events and stuff. And I think there was a little bit more enjoyable component to those events just because, you were amongst friends and a lot of good things going on for the cause. And when all the good stuff is over and now we're in the heat of the battle and about the seventh round of a 15-round title bout. And while we won the first 4 rounds, the opposition came back and squeaked by with a couple of victory rounds themselves. And we're still ahead, but we're going toe to toe and seeing it's a prize fighter's fight right now. I mean, we're going to see who the hell's got the most stamina, the most money, the most backing, the most truths on one side and the most lies on the other.
Well, we do have the truth on our side, which you would think would go a long ways, but unfortunately in this world it doesn't, because they can just you tell a lie long enough, then it just becomes the truth. Isn't that the old political adage? Excuse me.
Yeah. It's easy when you continually spread fallacies and falsehoods over and over and over and over from different sectors, and then you have government officials that help justify or substantiate those fallacies. And then you have individuals that are supposedly on our side that don't come out and refute those fallacies because they want to tell their own story for maybe the betterment of all and the good, but more often than not, it seems like for the betterment of themselves or their own agenda or their own business. And those are some of the things that we're running into hurdles. We put up a formidable effort over the course of the last 13 months. That's when we started this. We started it September 22nd of 2023 on this particular issue. And where we're at now is we've got, I think, 26 days left until election. And now some individuals are wanting to come out of the woodwork with their own narrative and their own story and storyline. And that's causing some confusion with the sportsman community, but more importantly, it's causing consternation with the target audience that we've seen. What resonates with them in the Denver metro area, the Boulder metro area, and trying to make sure that we put the pieces together to make a complete puzzle. Just because you have a bunch of pieces doesn't mean they're going to fit, and doesn't mean that's the right spot, and it doesn't mean that's even from the same puzzle. So we're hoping to weed through some of the landscape and thread that needle appropriately over the next 3.5 weeks. We got a few events scheduled, and we've got some optimism to be had. But it comes down to the nut cutting on this, and the opposition has gotten a significant amount of money infused into their campaign from out of state national extremist groups and individuals, and they knew that they were going to have to put up a fight. I don't think they knew it was going to have to be to this extent, but they're doubling down, and they're trying to figure out a way to squish the bug that the sportsman community is. And if they're successful in that, I mean, we talked about this earlier, and I've talked about it. I did a podcast last night. I've got one this afternoon. I'm doing the Colorado Public Radio interview today. This is my 86th podcast now in a year. But we've been talking primarily to the choir. We know that because we know we needed to talk to the choir to be able to generate enough engagement, outreach, and funding to be able to support the movement to talk to the target audience. Now, what we have done is a significant grassroots component of this whole campaign that has never been seen across the United States. And it's not so much we're taking credit for it. It's just that people have come out of the woodwork at all levels, at all 50 states, at every organization, and businesses and industry leaders. And that's a monumental effort in itself. It's epic to be able to say that we're accomplishing something that we strive to do, but the opposition is I wouldn't say more organized because they have no grassroots, but they're more well funded and they have an agenda and they've got political sides on their side to help them accomplish what they want to do.
Let's kind of back up just a smidge and just set the stage in the table for where we are right now and what's transpired since the last time we spoke on the podcast. Back then, we were really pushing to try to spread the word, to educate, prevent them from getting this to ballot, which was through a petition. They got the number of signatures they needed, so this is now going to ballot. Correct me if I'm wrong. The mail-in ballots go out today. It's mail-in only, and then So what's this next phase look like in this next round of the fight?
Well, I got to emphasize too, Luke. When we talked last time, we were talking about Initiative 91, and that's what this started out as on September 22nd of 2023. Once that all was certified through the Secretary of State's office, then it actually got a ballot number. It was an initiative number before, but the ballot number is Proposition 127. And the reason I want to emphasize that is because we still have people that are trying to print signs up or do social media forums talking about Initiative 91, and the average general public has no idea what that is now, or they're misguiding them because if they look at the blue book or look at the ballot, Initiative 91 is not going to be on it. So they changed it to Proposition 127. They certified the signatures to the tune of about 140,000 certified signatures out of 188,000 that they collected. So there was roughly 48,000 or 50,000 that were not certifiable for whatever reason. And so they only needed 124,000, but they got the signatures. We spent almost 6 weeks on 3 different legal draft analysis of the blue book, which is what every voter in the state of Colorado will get. And the blue book that you see here is exactly what people have a chance to look at. And the reason I show it is because it's 110 pages for ballot titles this year, a total of which there are 14 statutory and constitutional amendment ballot initiatives. And ours is number 127, and it starts on page 39, and it goes to page 42. And so there's 2.5, 3 pages of dissectable information that people can look through, peruse, and try to get the facts and data and statistics pertaining to this particular initiative proposition. And they'll have the chance on November 5th to make the decision. But what they're going to see is on the ballot itself, they're not going to see 2.5 pages. They're going to see the ballot title that they'll turn around and check yes or no on. And with your permission, I'll read the entire title.
Yeah, absolutely.
It says a change to the Colorado revised statutes concerning the prohibition on the hunting of mountain lions, lynx, and bobcats, and in connection therewith prohibiting the intentional killing, wounding, pursuing, and trapping, or discharging or releasing of a deadly weapon at a mountain lion, lynx, or bobcat, creating 8 exceptions to this prohibition, including to the protection of human life, property, and livestock, establishing a violation of this prohibition as a Class 1 misdemeanor, and increasing fines and limiting wildlife license privileges for persons convicted of this crime. Now, the reason I want to read that, and I'll dissect it very briefly, is because it says prohibiting the intentional killing. Doesn't say anything about trophies. The prohibition on hunting in the very first line doesn't say anything about trophies. It talks about the intentional killing, wounding, pursuing, and trapping, or discharging or releasing of a deadly weapon. So that could be a bow or crossbow or a rifle or a shotgun or anything. The reason all of this is important to mention is because while this is a prohibition on hunting mountain lions and bobcats, when you start defining in the title what you're trying to accomplish through the prohibition of hunting, and then define trophy hunting in the measure, which it is defined in the measure as intentionally killing, wounding, pursuing, and trapping or discharging, you start doing that, Luke, and you go down the slippery slope that you could turn around and take any species, any one of the 78 game species in the state of Colorado, or any one of the game species in any other state for that matter, and turn around and put them in place, because they're even getting into the nut cutting on discharging or releasing of a deadly weapon. Doesn't have squat to do with mountain lions and bobcats there. And I'd be remiss if I didn't constantly bring up the facts that lynx are state and federally protected in the lower 48, cannot be harvested. And they even mentioned that in the Blue Book after multiple weeks of consternation of us providing dialogue back and forth. But the reason that they included lynx was in case, and they said this in a public hearing to the Supreme Court, that if they ever became delisted, they never want them to ever be harvested, period, for no reason. Now, the 8 exceptions to the rule that they've got in here, they act like they're giving you 8 exceptions in this proposition, where those 8 exceptions are currently in Colorado statute, and they have to do with human health and safety and protection of private property and livestock depredation and science-based, studies and so forth. All of that stuff we already have, but the general public doesn't know that. So they act like, well, they're still giving, then they say this on a hot mic, we're still giving the opportunity to hunt. Those 8 exceptions are not included in hunting. They're not part of management. They're not part of the North American model. It's not part of a license process. So somebody goes and buys a license and goes out and pursues something. Those 8 exceptions are exceptions that are provided because the mountain lion specifically is designated in Colorado as a big game animal. And the reason I mention that is because if this passes, not only will mountain lions not be a big game animal any longer, big game compensation for livestock depredation will not be allowed, because that's a big game depredation program. So the Department of Ag or Colorado Parks and Wildlife will not be responsible to pay a livestock producer, an agriculture producer, for the loss of a sheep or a goat or a cow or a horse any longer, because mountain lions won't be big game. So when they give these fallacies and falsehoods in their arguments, whether it's online or through their commercials or in their interviews or whatever, there's not much of a chance in a 30-second commercial to dissect any of this. And if there's no rebuttal on a television interview or a newspaper ad or something, there's no way to dissect that information to translate it back to the general public appropriately. So there's a hell of a lot of misnomers, and there's a hell of a lot of information that is not being conveyed because of the way the language is written. And I hope that the general public will read the Blue Book and be able to decipher some of this stuff of what you can and can't do after this passes, if it does. Or they're smart enough to realize that this doesn't have anything to do with trophy hunting based upon all the language. It has to do with hunting, and it has to do with degrading and eroding science-based wildlife management and the North American model of wildlife conservation.
I also hope that folks will read it, but unfortunately, I don't think that that's the case. We struggle for our customers to read product descriptions. So
yeah,
I think just in the world and the society we live in with these short attention spans, people are just going to go through and fill it out, the ones that vote. I think, if you're listening to this and you're a resident of Colorado and a registered voter, you have to vote. Like we can't have anybody sitting on the sidelines. The fact that it's mail-in only, is that normal? These are mail-in only, or is there usually a ballot set up for?
Oh no, we've been mail-in for going on 6 or 7 years now.
Okay.
No polls.
I haven't been a registered voter in Colorado, being military, so
yeah. No,
that's interesting because it's when you look at
goes in their favor.
The demographics of who does mail-in and who does in person, that's already working against us. So if you're a Colorado resident, you have to vote. I mean, we've got to mobilize and come out for this. And I know you guys are working on this diligently. What can we do to reach the people that aren't in our bubble, that aren't in our echo chamber, right? Like obviously this podcast, 99.9% of the people that listen to it are active hunters. I know you guys are running, paid ads and promotions, and there's the signs, the vote no's, and these kind of things that we kind of see. But is there other things that we can do, talking to people in our own networks that aren't into this lifestyle, trying to educate them? What would you tell folks to do to try to get the word out on 127?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say, make sure you're registered and make sure your registration is updated. Make sure that you talk to everybody that you know. I mean, Look, I'm a bona fide right wing gun toting sportsman that harvests a lot of stuff. But the 99% of the people that I know are not sportsmen. They're not. 99% of the people you know that aren't sportsmen. I mean, it's just you have your circle, you have your business line, you have the people that you hang out with, but the overwhelming majority of the people that you know are not sportsmen or women. And I think that we haven't done a very good job historically, individually, collectively, and business wise, organizationally, to be able to spread that message and let people know that this is who we are and what we do. I mean, I had a guy down in downtown Kansas City that killed an antelope last weekend, and he's lived there 17 years. And a neighbor across the street who's lived there 14 years saw him getting an antelope out of his truck and putting it in the garage. And he goes, what is that? He goes, well, that's an antelope. Well, where did you get it? I said, I went and hunted it. I didn't know you hunted. This guy lived across the street from him for 14 years. And I'm thinking, how does he not know you hunt? And he goes, well, we just don't see each other that much. And I'm thinking, but you have to convey who you are to the people that are closest to you, because they're likely to pay attention to the people closest to them about people's particular lifestyles and what they find important and their political stances or their religious stances or their family values or whatever it might be. So I think the biggest thing is reach out to your network. I mean, there's people on every level of social media and every platform and forum that are not necessarily connected to each one. And while we all might have a close-knit population of sportsmen and women, we all know people, whether we go to church, whether we go to work, whether we pass them on the street, whether it's just at the gym. Not everybody we know hunts and fishes. And if we don't broaden our net, and it's going to be hard to do in 26 days, but if we don't broaden our net, there's no way we can turn around and get those people to understand who we are and that the sportsman is not some bloodthirsty son of a bitch that they never saw before. It's the guy across the street that's lived across the street from them for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I'm very displeased at. I'm disappointed with. And we have to take this upon ourselves. I mean, Colorado voters, sportsmen voters, you would not believe how many people that I've talked to over the course of the last 13 months in this campaign that did not vote on the wolf issue, not for it or against it. They didn't vote, period. Well, I was hunting then. Okay, well, what's your excuse? You get the ballot 3.5 weeks ahead of time. You mail it in. I don't care if you're hunting or not. Well, it's calving season, or we're shipping season or whatever. Who cares? You get it, fill it out. If it sits there a week, fill it out. Sits there 2 weeks, fill it out. If you're that damn busy, you can't take the ballot. I'm not saying read 109 pages of this whole damn book. If you can't take the ballot and go through and mark the boxes, then they are not part of the problem. They are the freaking problem. And so first thing, register to vote. Make sure your registration is up to date. If you've moved in the last year, it needs to be updated. If you change your political affiliation, you better make sure that you're good. If I've got people already that are telling me, I didn't get my blue book. Well, then I said, then you aren't appropriately registered. Did you change your residence? Did you change your status? I mean, did you change your name? Whatever it is, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We vote, they vote. Are they going to outvote us because we're not voting or because we're not registered to vote? The second thing that people could do is, in the next, ballots go out today. So, we're kind of talking to the choir here. And we're hoping that people pay attention no matter how far this goes. And that's why everybody's reaching out in the course of the last, 2.5 weeks that I've been doing this. Literally 5 to 6 or 8 inquiries a day from some form of media or social media to say, hey, can you get on here and can you help us out to get some more information out? Which is great. We appreciate all of it. We need to be able to ride everybody's coattails. But now we're starting to see it, like the Denver Post, the Grand Junction Sentinel, the Colorado Sun, the Denver Gazette, the Colorado Springs Gazette. You start to see statewide papers that are reaching out. You see news channels reaching out. You see radio stations reaching out. They want us to debate cats on trophies. This afternoon, I'm doing an interview for Colorado Public Radio. Next week, I'm doing one for National Public Radio. That's all great and fine and dandy, but people have to not just listen to it. They got to pay attention to it and act. They have to motivate. They have to engage. We still need money. We're being outspent on television 2-1. When we take thousands and thousands and thousands of $10 and $20 and $50 donations that are much appreciated, and it's a monumental effort. But when one high-rolling, agenda-driven animal rights extremist kicks in $250,000 from Roanoke, Virginia, it takes a hell of a lot of $20 donations for us to be able to turn around and match that $250,000 from one individual. On the 18th, next Friday, week from the day, at the Colorado State Capitol, there's a rally for sportsmen to oppose 127. And we've got 19 different media outlets and television stations that said that they will be there to help cover it. I'm going to be really pissed off, Luke, if we turn around and get 33 people up and 19 media personalities, and we got 1 million sportsmen and women in the state of Colorado. People gripe to say that's in the middle of hunting season. You're exactly right. It's in the middle of hunting season. It's 2 days after the first season. It's a week before the second season. It's in the middle of the hunting season. If you're not going to turn around and take the time to come to Colorado or come to Denver, if you live in Colorado, and unite and show right outside the governor's office, right outside the General Assembly where they meet, and on the west lawn of the Capitol, and show the voters of Denver and let the media know who we are, why we're here, and what we do. If we're not going to do it on this, when are we going to do it? Because if they take this away and we don't put up a formidable effort and we don't come together and unify like we have so far, if we can't finish that across the finish line, what difference does it make how fast you start and how good you are in the middle if you didn't finish the freaking race?
I agree completely. I mean, the idea that it's in the middle of hunting season, if we don't fight this, it might be one of the last ones. The writing's on the wall if we don't continue to keep the motivation and keep the pressure on. This is, and I keep trying to harp on this to everybody in my circles, is this isn't about lions. Lions are just an easy, cute, low-hanging piece of fruit that they can go after. It's easy. There's not a lot of folks that do it, that actually actively lion hunt. They're a predator, which for some reason our heartstrings always go out to predators, and nobody sees them. So it's easy to say that they're endangered, quote unquote, or at risk, because people are like, oh, I don't see lions, there must not be a lot of them. But their overall end state is to end hunting and potentially even end animal husbandry. You talked about this in the last one. They think, the far extremists, I mean, they have a range just like we do of folks that are doing this, but that they're very far extreme. They don't want people to own dogs, cats, cattle. They want animals to have equal rights to humans. They want to ban the consumption of meat. They don't want leather products, goods, the felt hat thing. I mean, we have to continue to let everybody know that this is just one battle that is going to set the precedent that they can continue to then shift the line. And it was great that you read that and how their language is. That's not by accident. It's deliberate. No. They are keeping it open-ended so they can add to it as we go. And then with the wolf reintroduction, if that actually takes, it's been a disaster so far. We stop managing other predators, we're going to see our ungulate populations swing. And then at a certain point, we're not even going to have an argument, because biologically and from a management perspective, we're going to have to reduce or limit the hunting across the board. It's already happening with the over-the-counter tag shifting. That's really more due to pressure. But I mean, we have to look at this strategically in the entire ecosystem of what they're trying to do, and know that we can't lose this fight, because we will lose so much ground off this ballot that doesn't seem to the average hunter to probably be that big of a deal, because they're like, I don't hunt lions. But it's way more than that, and we cannot give them this momentum and this win.
Last year, I mentioned this multiple times over the course of last year, but last year in November, Trish Zornio with the Colorado Sun did an article, and she said, why are mountain lions any more important than bighorn sheep? Why are we hunting our state animal? And it kind of got brushed aside. I mean, we pushed it out to our organizations that we support and that are partners in this. They said, there is some Looney Tunes out there. I mean, they're not just Looney Tunes. The last email that they sent, Cats Aren't Trophies, sent to their membership on the 4th, about 7 days ago, I guess. They say, we told you that Safari Club International was shoveling hundreds of thousands of dollars to the effort to defeat Proposition 127. So are the Fur Takers of America, the North American Wild Sheep Foundation, and many others who are all trophy hunters of our bighorn sheep and our natural resources and elk in this country. We need to stop them. We need to stop them here, and we need to stop them throughout the world. This is not a freaking mountain lion and bobcat deal. If you listen to what Wayne Pacelli said, and we've got it on our Instagram page, we didn't even put it up, but it's a quote from Wayne Pacelli back in the 90s, early 2000s when he was in California, how he mentioned, and it can be Googled, you can look it up, how he mentioned that they wanted to stop the hunting in California. And then when they got that accomplished, then they would go state by state, species by species, and method of take to stop all hunting. Wayne Pacelli is behind this with the Animal Welfare Action Group. He got crap canned out of HSUS because of sexual assault allegations or claims or whatever. So he left, got a severance package, went to all his former supporters and contributors, and started Animal Welfare Action and the Institute for a Humane Economy. This is not a one-off. This is not by happenstance. This is a ongoing agenda by organizations and like-minded individuals that have now found a solid footing outside of California with gubernatorial individuals like Jared Polis and his husband, Marlon Reese, who are both animal rights extremists, to turn around and undermine the agency and undermine science-based wildlife management to the point of no return. Marlon Reese, in several different emails that have been circulated in the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks, has said, we need to get some of this stuff done before Jared terms out, realizing that if they don't, it's not likely to happen. It's not likely to come to fruition. We have a chance to plant our flag in the sand, and we use all the cliches in the world about drawing a line in the sand, planting your flag in the sand. I mean, you just look at the opportunity that's before us. But are we going to rise to the occasion as a community? Or are we going to say, that's never going to happen, or I don't hunt mountain lions, or I already killed a mountain lion, or I don't think you should hunt mountain lions with dogs, even though that guy might hunt pheasants and quail with a Springer Spaniel. There's a lot of finger pointing at multiple levels, but we have to turn around and stand united. Look at their email. Look at their past context that they've talked about for the last 30 or 40 years. Look at the statements in the newspapers. Look at the lies and the deceit. You see Dan Ash, former superintendent director of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, came out in support of this. I'm a sportsman, but I think this is ridiculous. This is cruel and inhumane. Tom Tancredo, Mark Udall. I mean, for anybody that loved the movie The Mountain Men or the movie Jeremiah Johnson, you turn around and have Robert Redford come out against mountain lion hunting. Now, I've admired Robert Redford for the majority of my life, and I thought he was great in The Sting, and I loved him in the Electric Horseman, and I loved him in Jeremiah Johnson. I will never watch another damn thing that Robert Redford ever has to do because he is an animal extremist. Now, he's 84 years old or 88 years old or whatever, so, he's going to die probably before I do. But the fact of the matter is, the changing landscape has altered our lifestyles to the point to where the extremists, the animal rights extremism movement, is trying to get us to stop doing what we do. Pro-Animal Future, that is trying to ban the slaughterhouse in the city of Denver on Ordinance 309 and ban the sale of wild fur, including cowboy hats and fishing lures and Native American crafts, has come out and said in the last month, we want to alter people's lifestyles and change the way they eat, change the way they live. Who the hell are they to turn around and tell me and you and every other sportsman and Tom, Dick, and Harry of how we should live? People need to wake up and smell the roses and look at the attacks that are being dealt and thwarted to us. And if we don't act at this level, I don't know what's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take to turn around and try to revive it and revitalize the troops, because the troops are ready to go. We've proven that over the last 13 months. But as I said, are we going to be able to finish the fight? We're going to be able to finish the race.
We have to. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, if you're listening to this and if you're a Colorado registered voter, ensure that you're registered properly, go vote, send in your ballots. If you're not in Colorado and you're, looking at this from another state, know that this isn't a Colorado fight. This is just a battlefront. It's coming to your state, whether they go after predator hunting, the killing of deer, elk, moose, bighorn sheep, goats. Their end state is that there is no more hunting in North America, and
Well,
we
I
have
mean, here
got
I'm just
to stand united.
I just get a notice right now. State officials cancel squirrel hunting event amid outrage from anti-hunters. The spokesperson said the event, which was meant to recruit new and youth hunters, was misunderstood by some New Mexicans, one of whom said she had fond memories of feeding squirrels as a child. It's a headline. This is not about mountain lions and bobcats, guys, gals. A month ago, the Pagosa paper had an op-ed. Pagosa Springs, Colorado, had an op-ed by an individual that said, "Why are mountain lions any more important than turkeys? Why are we allowing the slaughter of turkeys by the thousands?" Turkeys. We got 78 game species in this state, and I guarantee that you can find somebody that wants to advocate for every one of those things so they don't get killed or harvested, so they're not managed. I don't care if it's swift fox. I mean, the governor and his spouse are trying to turn around and implement a beaver management plan now. I've been a trapper for 50 years. There's not a beaver problem. There never has been a beaver problem, except for in the days of the 1830s when there was no regulated season. The mountain men came through and they extirpated every single possible thing that they could possibly do. That's never happened in modern times. It doesn't matter whether it's prairie dogs. It doesn't matter whether it's prairie chickens. It doesn't matter whether it's bighorn sheep. There's somebody out there that will advocate on behalf of, but not like what sportsmen and women do. Sportsmen and women advocate on behalf of all of it for the science-based wildlife management because they pay into the system. And I know we're talking to the choir here. We're sitting here turning around and trying to convince people that the sky is falling, doom and gloom is around the corner. Well, I tell you what, you spend enough time at a commission meeting, you turn around and spend enough time at the Gold Dome during the legislative session. You have to sit with these people that are undermining every single thing that we do, and you'll think that the sky is falling. You're hunting this year. 99% of the other people I know is hunting this year. I'm not, because I know the sky's falling, and I can't turn around and take one day off because I'm putting 100 hours a freaking week into this crap right now. 100 hours a week. I'm in a hotel room right now. 169 nights in a hotel room this year with 85 podcasts. I put on 61,000 miles on my truck for this stuff. This is the opportunity for us to say enough is enough. And if we can't do it monetarily, we can damn sure do it optically and visually to the point to where the general public understands who we are by our own personal relationships, by our own personal outreach, by standing on a street corner instead of saying, "I will work for food," turn around and put a Proposition No 127 no sign up. We've done tailgate wraps throughout the community. We've got 500, 600 tailgate wraps. We've got, I don't know how many thousands of vote no signs that have come out of the woodwork that people are manufacturing on their own. We're distributing them, trying to help distribute them. We got 31, 32 different distribution points throughout the state of Colorado. There's 700 some odd 4x8 billboards that have gone up. This is the grassroots stuff. This is not the campaign side of it. This is the grassroots. The brewery fest or the pint nights that like RMBS, BHA are doing, and the Gunnison Wildlife Association and organized efforts to be able to turn around and motivate people. But granted, we're in the middle of hunting season and have been essentially since the last week of August. But there's still a lot going on, and we have the opportunity to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to take one day out of hunting, or I'm going to take one day off of work, I'm going to take one day off of something, and I'm going to go to the Capitol on the 18th of October. And people have asked us, why'd you do it then? That's because when the Capitol gave us the permit to be able to do it, we would have preferred not to do it then. But hey, this is the opening we got. You want it, you take it. Are we going to show up on the 18th and show the media, show the governor and the legislature and our peers and the public who we are Bring your dog, well-mannered dog. Bring a poop bag in case you have to turn around and clean that up. Come down and get some yard signs, get some swag, listen to some speakers, get updated on the process. It's from 11 to 2 on the west lawn of the Capitol next Friday. This is our chance to turn around and make our mark. I don't care if you live 5 hours away, 5 minutes away, 5 miles away. It doesn't take that much to turn around and say, I'm going to join the forces because the forces are being attacked.
I'm gonna do my best to be there. I'll be coming from Wyoming now, but I'm gonna come down. Try to bring a crew.
Bring a sign. Bring a sign.
I will.
We tell everybody, bring a sign. Turn around, plant the flag on the yard sign deal. Hunt, lift, eat. And, we're telling the guys at Army F and RMBS, and if it's the Go Hunt guys, we're talking about trying to come out. We did a podcast with them last week of September. I mean, the sense of urgency is here. Mm-hmm. If your neighbors, this is a good analogy because of the timing. But if your neighbors were expecting to be flooded and you knew that you had sandbags and a shovel and a big pile of sand, would you help? Or would you sit there and just wait for them to turn around and get washed away? We are in the process of getting washed away. I don't care whether a guy's a mountain lion hunter or not. He ought to be there. I don't care if you know a mountain lion hunter or not. You ought to be there. This is the one chance that we have to be able to turn around and plant our flag and make the world known that if we have 500 or 1,000 people to show up down there, look at what that would do for an optics on 10 different newsreels with all the dogs and the kids and the women hunters and the sportsmen from all sectors, bringing their caps, bringing their shirts, bringing their flags, bringing their signs, and put it in the yard of the Capitol down there when we're doing this event, and let people go and go, oh, these aren't even all houndsmen. These are sportsmen. These are sportswomen. We have to tell our story. And I go back to the guy that lived across the street from the other guy for 14 years. If that's the way we're going to turn around and try to promote ourselves, we will fail. Might not fail on November 5th, but we will fail. I'm enthusiastic, huh?
It's important, and I think the gravity of this can't be overstated. I mean, it's huge, and I think as sportsmen and women, the infighting, the division over just stupid stuff. We talked about it ad nauseum on the last one, but we've got to put that aside. We have to unite because the opposition is extremely united. It doesn't matter if they're, there's one group that wants to save all the cats, and then one group wants to save all the elk. They will unify behind this one piece of the pie, come forward, put in their dollars. They have the bigger funding. We all just need to do what we can. I just dropped a donation right now on this podcast because we've been tight on money, but I've been trying to figure it all out. But I was like, fuck it, we'll figure it out on the backside. We've got to start putting our money where our mouth is. I'm going to do a personal one here in a minute. And I would just challenge everybody that's listening, just drop in what you can. If you're from out of state, the $20, the $10, the $50, if you can spare more, do that. It costs a lot. I can tell you from the marketing side for a business, it costs so much. So I can only imagine on what you're doing going, and I've seen ads on Hulu that you guys are running and ads on social media. You will bleed dry on ad spend very quickly. To even get it out there, you're spending anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a day to get that message out per platform. And so you guys that are listening need to understand how expensive this is. Dan isn't sitting here, buying a new truck every week and going on.
I had to buy a new truck because the other one got vandalized.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, to the point to where it wasn't drivable. It's well, it's yeah. So I did buy a new truck. Anybody sees he's bought a new truck. Yeah, because the other one wasn't drivable. So.
I think you. That's 100% okay. So what happened there? Let's talk about that, because this also just speaks to who the opposition is. What happened to your truck?
Well, I went through 2 sets of tires this year. We come out of meetings, or we were parked at events, and tires were slashed. And the one place came out of the hotel, and there was a screwdriver in each tire. Uh, that's not just by happenstance. I mean, a regular vandal doesn't turn around and just leave a screwdriver in each tire. Uh, and try to find 10 ply 16-inch tires when you're on the road, going around doing events on a Sunday morning. That's not the easiest thing. Uh, but the truck that was chained, somebody just took a chain to it and just beat the living crap out of it. I mean, it looks like, it's not even hail damage repairable. And I mean that, the harassment, the personal assaults, the attacks, the stuff sent in the mail, the packages, the emails, things delivered to the house. My wife is to the point now to where she's opening stuff, and she said this on the Go Hunt podcast, that she's opening stuff in the mail from unknown addresses, with a mask and gloves on. And people said, well, why would you open that? Well, it's because we're getting contributions or outreach and stuff from thousands and thousands of people that support us. But it's one or two of the whack jobs out there that are turning around and trying to scare the crap out of you, trying to alter your lifestyle, trying to get you to quit. This is not a fair fight. And I've got a chip on my shoulder, and we're not going to give up. But if anybody thinks that this is some easy deal that you just turn around and say no and you're going to win, well, there could be nothing further from the truth. These are the most antagonistic, backbiting, deceitful, lying, illegal sons of bitches you could ever find. There's nothing beyond, I honestly believe there's nothing beyond their capabilities of what they're willing to do. And I'm not saying Wayne Deselli's doing it. I'm not saying Samantha Brugger's doing it. But they've got enough of a following from some whack jobs out there that are willing to turn around and do whatever they could do because they find a chink in the armor, or they find some sort of opportunity that they can capitalize on to create your life to be more miserable and hope you quit. So, the personal stuff that goes on is one thing, but this is not an offshoot either. I've got board members that have decided they don't want to participate. I can't tell you how many digital electronic hacks that we've had. And then it translates over to your business, and it translates over to your nonprofit, and it translates over to your individual stuff and to your board member stuff. And people just throw their hands up and say, I didn't sign up for this. I'm doing this for the cause. I can't turn around and do this any longer. So people need to understand that if you don't have the ability to withstand the pressure of what the extremists are willing to deal out, then they find it another chink in the armor, and then they know that they've got another notch on their gun belt and a kamikaze mark on their plane, and they just turn around and mark it up as a victory. It's probably the most difficult thing that I've had to do to keep your cool during all of this, where you get accosted at a public meeting, or you get physically assaulted at a public function, or people show up to your house in the middle of the night, or your wife comes home and there's a package sitting at the gate at the end of the property with no return address and no name. And should she pick it up? Should she open it? Should she call the cops? Should she leave alone? These are the type of things that the average person doesn't understand. And it doesn't happen every day, but it's happened over the last freaking multiple years in some capacity. But the last 13 months, it's, well, I tell you what, anybody that thinks that this is a fun deal, I'll be more than willing to turn it over to them and show them the ropes if they think they got more ass in their britches to be able to put up with it.
Well, I appreciate you, Dan. Like, truly, like what you're subjecting yourself to, your family to, it's not lost on me at all. I can't imagine, like, in the fact that you're holding the line, you're out here on the forefront. You're taking the brunt. You're the face of it, for all of us and in our lifestyle. And I think the least that we can all do is, one, show up and fucking, fill out the ballot and vote. And then two is, if we have the financial means to get behind the cause in whatever capacity we can, we need to. And then physically show up, give the date and time again, and the location for the demonstration at the Capitol.
Yeah, the rally at the Capitol was October 18th from 11 to 2, Colorado State Capitol, downtown. If you can't find the Capitol, you have no business hunting, because it's a lot harder to find a lion track or a place to put a deer stand than it is the Colorado Capitol. And it's from 11 to 2. Like I said, bring your dogs, come down there, just spend the day and or at least half the day, and help us show the media and the politicians who we are, why we're doing what we do, that we're supporting Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the science-based wildlife managers that are there. In the meantime, you can turn around and still, and I need to mention it, and sometimes I often forget, but Colorado Chapter of Safari Club is doing another raffle for us. So you mentioned the fundraising side of it. If somebody doesn't want to put 20 or 50 bucks in just for the hell of doing it, you can actually enter a raffle. You can go to savethehuntcolorado.com, and there's a whitetail hunt for 2 in Saskatchewan that the SCI Colorado chapter is doing. And then there's also a Gunworks rifle, again, $6,000-$7,000 gun that Salida Gun Shop and Gunworks has provided, like they did previously on that raffle that provided a significant amount of money and infusion to this campaign that SCI did. And so those are 2 options. You can donate, to the campaign itself is wildlifedeservebetter.com. That's the issues committee. It's connected as a parallel movement to what SaveTheHuntColorado.com is. I'm the chair of the issues committee, and I'm the executive director of Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management. But if you put money in either pot, it's going to the cause. It's going to the fight. And it might not sound that big of a deal, but, just for instance, if we got $5,000 donated today, that's $5,000 more that you could put immediately and infuse into the advertising side of the campaign. We took 25 grand in on Monday. We took 25 grand in on Tuesday from big organizations, not counting the smaller contributions that came in. Doesn't sound like much. That's a lot. But when you're generating 100 grand, the opposition is generating $250,000. When you're generating $250,000, they're generating $500,000. And we know all of this because the way the campaign has worked, and with the issues committee, the wildlifedeservebetter.com issues committee, there's a 24-hour reporting requirement. So we know exactly how much money they have coming in, and they do us. We have a really good inclination, if not exact, of how much money is going out and where it's going, as they do us. So if they know that they have us against the ropes, well, let's just add some fuel to the fire, they say. And if we're scrambling, trying to, work up the ladder, then they could turn around and push and try to keep our feet and hands off the rungs. We have made monumental progress. I don't want to make this sound like the sky is falling completely, but I can tell you what, the way that the campaigns work are so structured against the underdog because of the required reporting and the disclosures and the independent expenditure committees and the accounting. The money that you have to spend every single day just to turn around and be compliant and make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's, because you are in lobbying and electioneering. And there are rules and regulations to go along with that. Matter of fact, the Colorado Secretary of State regulation book on lobbying and ballot initiatives is 182 pages of regulations and compliance that you have to be able to adhere to. It's not like you just turn around and say, vote no. There's a whole structure there. And to be able to do that, we did everything appropriately for the first 13 months, but it gets to the point where if you're spending $10,000 or $11,000 or $12,000 a month just in expenses without doing anything for the campaign, you can see how far behind you get when you're looking at $20 and $50 donations. Now, I'm not knocking those 20 and 50s. We just need a lot more of them. there's 350,000 non-resident sportsmen and women that applied for licenses in the state of Colorado this April. We didn't get 350,000 non-resident donations, but they all had to buy a qualifying license for 30 or 50 or 60 bucks, and they all paid for preference points, and they all turned around and paid the license application fee. And not all of them even applied for the license. They applied for the points. If we'd have gotten donations from every single flipping person that applied for a license in the state and got nothing in return because they didn't even get a license or applied for a license, we would be unbeatable. But we didn't get it. So we're not singing the blues. We're just stating the fact that, hey, we got a hell of a lot of outside interests that are helping us out, but we didn't get everybody. And I think that that's the thing where the majority of the sportsmen say, it's not my fight. It's not my cause. I don't hunt mountain lions. I've already killed a mountain lion. I don't think you should hunt a mountain lion. There's a lot of components here to make sure that our side of the team knows when they hit the field what position they're playing and what play they're supposed to run.
Get involved. We have to. I mean, we're in the final stretch here. We've got less than a month. Get involved. Let's help out this fight, whether you're from Colorado or not. I'm half in, half out. I'm physically in Colorado right now, working on a house in Wyoming, but we're going to get involved. We already have. We're going to continue to get involved. I will be there on Friday. I'm going to try to get as many guys and gals from our crew down there as possible. We've got to show this unified front. It doesn't matter, like Dan's saying, whether you hunt lions, whether you trap bobcats or hunt bobcats. Like, this is way bigger and deeper than that. And if we lose this, we're going to lose a lot of ground. The fight still won't be over, but it'll be an uphill battle from there, because these ballot initiatives do not reverse. We still don't have spring bear in Colorado from, decades ago. And we've got a bear problem in Colorado that's only going to get exacerbated with cats. So we've got to show up as voters, as sportsmen and women. We've got to show this unified front. And if we don't, let's do it now and not be having this same conversation in 6 months when they drop the next ballot initiative, which they're going to do. They're going to ride the momentum. They're going to continue to come after this. It's not going to be one and done. Not going to hear about it for 2 decades like the last one. So we got to mobilize now.
Well, I mean, look at that article I just read you about that alert where they could try to ban squirrel hunting in New Mexico. Because somebody doesn't like it. Somebody griped about it. So they canceled an event. They canceled an event to recruit and retain youth hunters. I mean, that's the lowest hanging fruit you could possibly pick. And they keep talking about us being the lowest hanging fruit on mountain lions and bobcats. You pick any species, somebody's going to turn around and pick it out and say, hey, I think we can turn around and take this away. And it just so happens that they went after mountain lions and bobcats. And for those that don't remember or don't recollect what we've stated many, many times, we beat these efforts back at the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission and the Colorado General Assembly in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and 2022, all unanimously, except for the legislature, and it was 4-1. This is their last stand to capture and accomplish what they want. And if we stop them now, we stop them at all forms of government, because of logical-minded people that realized that, hey, wait a minute, maybe this isn't so right. Why are we letting the experts manage our wildlife? And I think the general public as a whole is smart enough to determine that. But when you see all the bad ads or the lies on the ads or the misleading information that's out there, and they don't dissect it, and they don't read the blue book, and they don't do any fact finding, or they don't hear it from their neighbor who's a hunter, or their coworker or their congregation member that's a hunter. If they don't hear it, if they don't see it, if they don't know it, they're going to listen to the opposite side because that's all they hear. And I think that, the news is doing us some favors, just on the degree. We've got many, many offers and opportunities out there to have conversations with individual news outlets in the media. We've got an opportunity to maybe debate some of the opposers, some of the proponents which we've offered to do on previous occasions, which they've never been willing to take us up on. But I just talked to a news station last night, and they said, we think we can accomplish this. And I said, well, if you can, we've got the right people to put toe to toe with them, in a civil, professional level of decorum. I would just soon throw down with some people after what we've had to deal with over the last year. I mean, let's go mano a mano. You pick one and we'll pick one. Let's meet in the parking lot.
Let me know if that happens.
Yeah. I mean,
listening to what they're doing to you fires me up. I'm ready.
Yeah. It's frustrating that we hear stories or analogies that sportsmen and women in the United States would be the largest army in the world if you just turn around and took it out of that context. They would be the largest army in the world. But I just wonder by that statement, but would they really stand up to defend it? I mean, if you really came down to it, if you're not willing to defend your own stuff on your own terms, on your own turf, for your own reasons, would you really be willing to defend something that required you to be part of the largest army in the world? Now, that's my skepticism. It's my scrutiny of the conversation. But I'm like, if I can't get people that I know, that I'm talking to regularly, to get off their ass and drive 2 hours to the Colorado Capitol, or to get registered to vote, or to vote, how the hell are we going to turn around and become the most formidable opposition to any foreign country by being the largest army in the world? And that's Black Hawk helicopter, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theory BS. All we have to do is pick up the sandbags, fill them with sand, put them in the truck, and give them to our neighbor. And that's exactly what this is here. We're not asking everybody to turn around and give us a year like what we've given on this issue, or to form an organization, or to do something for 40 to 60 hours a week when there isn't a crisis, and the 90 to 100 hours a week when there is a crisis. We need to turn around and make sure that we're locked arms and we're step by step, and we're trying to accomplish what we think that we support. But we just need to come out and say, enough is enough, and we're going to do it. We did it fairly well on February 3rd at the Colorado State Capitol 2022 on Senate Bill 31 when they tried to take it away, bobcats and mountain lion harvest then. It was 4 below zero. It snowed, and we had probably 700-800 people that were saying they were coming. We ended up with a little over 300 because people said, well, it snowed. I'm going, huh? I might not ever get to hunt again. Well, okay, well, that showed their true colors. Some of those people and I have not talked very much or frequently since then. I'm hoping that they'll put things aside and come out now, because I don't think it's going to snow on the 18th, and there's no lion hunting season on the 18th, and there's no other season on the 18th unless it's on the Eastern Plains. There's not much excuse. Most schools that we have nowadays in Colorado are 4 or 4.5 day a week schools. Our county governments work 4 days a week. They work 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. A lot of our state government agencies work 4 days a week. A lot of our private businesses in and around the Denver metro area work 4 days a week because of the traffic congestion, and they're trying to modify their schedules and help to relieve some of the congestion and help it make it easier. And how many people do you know that work from home? There's not an excuse, except for I'm too damn lazy and I'm not going to go down to the Capitol on October 18th. Or it's not important enough to me and I don't really care one way or the other. Or it's not going to happen. Or I've already donated my $20 and I did my part. There's an excuse for everything, but there's not an excuse in my mind.
Now's the time, y'all. We've got to show this unified front. So if you're able, you can get off work. If you're already have the time off for a hunt, take a day away. Show up on Friday, which will be when this drops. It'll be tomorrow. We're recording this the Friday prior, but we've got to get involved. We've got to get folks out there. I'm going to be pushing this out on our socials, to our team member program. If you're part of the team and you're on the front range, which we have 50 or 60 people, like, this is what this is about. This is why we have this community. This is why we come together, and it's so we can pursue this lifestyle. and there's a lot of people that want to take it away to the point that they're willing to assault Dan, destroy his truck, mail packages full of bullshit to his wife and himself. Like, this is the caliber of person that we're dealing with, and if we don't rally around this cause, this issue, and the people that are putting themselves in physical harm's way to fight this fight on our behalf, like I don't know what else is going to get you mobilized. Like what Dan said, like, this is the line. Like, now's the time. Like, everybody in this world wants to always talk about, oh, I'll fight this, I'll fight that. Well, then fucking fight. If folks want to donate, Dan, you want to give the website and everything, all the information and anything else you got for the raffles and all that stuff, how folks can, continue to get involved and stay involved.
Yeah, I'll finish it up here, Luke. WildlifeDeserveBetter.com. If nothing else, it's worth going there and looking at the information. Look at the media pages that we've got about what we're doing that anybody can turn around and put out through the social networks and through their channels. It's WildlifeDeserveBetter.com. You can donate there. You can find the other information out about what's going on with the campaign, which is rapidly decreasing in time. SaveTheHuntColorado.com. That's where you can buy the raffle tickets. You can still donate to that. Donate to all of them if you feel so inclined. But I need to emphasize every single dime is going to this fight in some capacity. Now, is it going to an ad? Maybe not. Is it going to a compliance committee? Maybe so. Is it going to accounting? Maybe so. Is it going to some sort of signage or something? Maybe so. Is it going to this flipping hotel room that I have to turn around and spin so I can be up here so I can pick up documents and assets and then do interviews? Maybe so. But that's part of a campaign. When you donate to Donald Trump or you donate to Kamala Harris, God forbid, you don't know where that $20 goes, or you don't know where that $50 goes. It goes to the campaign. And there's an opportunity here for people to contribute in some form or fashion or buy a raffle ticket and get a chance at something while still doing the donation. You don't want to just, put money into a pot, get a chance, and SCI is running the raffle. The social media spots that we're doing through Instagram on c.r.w.m or Facebook, Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management. You can go to the YouTube page for Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management. Share our stuff and kick it out and comment over the next week or 2 weeks and help us continue. I mean, we put out some really badass stuff. We put out some really professionally done, thoughtfully minded, bullet pointed facts and data that we don't come up with. We're just collecting it and then regurgitating it to where it's more easily digestible. We're giving people the tools to be able to use, but nothing displeases me more to see one of our social spots get 200,000 views, and it gets 4,000 little hearts or likes, and it gets 27 shares. I'm like, okay, if we're really going to turn around and try to get it out, let's turn around and try to get it out, because there again, I'm sitting here looking while we're talking, Luke, but in my contact list, I can say that I bet over 75% of my contacts in my phone with 4,000 some odd contacts are not hunters. Share this stuff and say, this is important to me. You have the opportunity to do a lot of things over the course of the next 2 weeks that'll make a difference. Donate, show up to the Capitol, share the content. Let your friends and family and coworkers and congregation and neighbors know who you are and why you think this is important, and express to them why it's important to make sure that we have professionals managing our wildlife, and that the experts at Colorado Parks and Wildlife should be the ones doing it, and not the Uber driver in Denver, or not the landscaper in Pueblo, or not the hairstylist in Colorado Springs. Do they all have opinions? Yes. But should we all be voting on chemotherapy treatment and brain surgery? No. The scientists and the experts should be doing that. And the scientists and the experts should be managing our wildlife resources here and in every other state. And there's a process for people to engage publicly, which they've been able to do through this. through the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission and through the General Assembly, through the legislature, which did not go in their way. And now they want to turn around and put these type of things on the ballot. That's not the right way to manage wildlife. So all of those things can be done in a short period of time. And you turn around and pick up the flag and you say, okay, I'm going to carry the baton to the next person. And hopefully, if we can turn around and motivate people in the next 7 to 10 days to help get us across the finish line, on top of the advertisements, on top of the signage, on top of the op-eds, and on top of the personal interviews and the debates and the television, outreach and newspaper outreach, all that combined is part of this process. It's part of the game plan, and it's part of the pieces of the puzzle. But what I don't want to do is have 1,000-piece puzzle and get to the end, and we're missing 2 pieces, and it's never complete, and we lose like what we did on the wolf deal by a very, very minimal margin of 50.9 to 49.1. If we do that, then I know that Colorado is what Colorado is. If we lose by 65 to 35, then I know that Colorado's screwed. But if we win by 1/10 of 1% or 2/10 of 1%, then I know that we did everything that we could possibly do, and we did it for the right reasons. And we held the enemy and the evil at bay. And instead of them accomplishing what they want to do until Governor Polis terms out, then we turn around and put them on our heels until he terms out. I appreciate the opportunity, appreciate the time, and look forward to a victory on November 5th.
Dan, I appreciate you, like, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for what you're doing. You're holding the line right now. I mean, you've done more than probably any one man in this entire fight that's been going on for decades, to bring awareness to what's going on, to unify sportsmen and women, at a lot of personal cost. And so, like, I appreciate it, truly. And I think everybody that's listening, they should appreciate it as well. And, we all need to stand behind this. Like I said before, now's the time. In whatever way you can contribute. Like, we've got to come together as sportsmen and women and push back on this. And for God's sakes, if you're a registered resident of Colorado, vote. We've got to show up and force this idea that this is lost. I mean, say it again, Dan, the wolf, how much it passed by, the percentages there, because I think that's telling.
50.9 to 49.1.
We were right there.
We were right there, and you would not believe how many people we've talked to that said they didn't vote, or they didn't think it would pass, or they were too damn busy to fill the ballot out, like they had to go some secret spot, 50 miles away. No, you fill the ballot out and you mail it in. If you filled it out too late, you could take it to the frickin' post office or a ballot drop-off spot. 50.9 to 49.1. That's a scary number.
We've got to show up in whatever capacity we can and be involved. So, Dan, thank you so much. Thanks for carving out the time. I know how busy you are right now. I'll see you next Friday. And if you need anything in the interim, just definitely reach out. We'll continue to repost and share, and I'm going to send out some email stuff and really do more than what we've done the last few weeks, month, because I've let life get in the way, and I'm going to fix that. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for helping us spread the word, and hopefully we got a victory on November 5th. But look forward to seeing everybody on the 18th, and aim small, miss small.
Yes, sir. Thanks. To all of our listeners, as always, we appreciate the hell out of you guys. Go do it. Donate some money. Show up. Vote. Thank you, guys.